Welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. You can send your questions and comments in to DJ at ArtistFirst.com. All shows are archived. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. And now here they are, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Z-Man. And yes, I am Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And there, because we are blessed with amazing grace, is Margaret. From my point of view, it is totally undeserved.
Oh my, we're laying it on thick tonight, folks.
Oh, I haven't even begun.
Oh dear.
And our topic tonight, in case you haven't already guessed, as we try to do these amazing segues that I come up with off the top of my head, like
of his head,
with like no preparation at all, as far as you know. Our topic tonight is, in fact, grace, or rather, really, from the point of view of what people think of as grace. I think most people have sort of a religious connotation attached to it in their heads, but what we're really talking about is really the state of having undeserved, really unmerited, and unearnable, really undeservable.
Wait, something's going on.
Favor happened to you. Is that? Are you getting some sort of undeserved favor?
Something else
to you?
was calling in, and it said it was you guys.
Oh my! Let's hope it isn't, that we haven't got dropped off. In any case, now you throw me off all my great segues here. In any case, our topic tonight is in fact undeserved grace, and
Yes.
What?
Oh, we're just wondering what in the world is going on with our screens, but that's okay.
Guys, we just so you know, we have everything's fine on this end. We can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Well,
I was wondering.
There's an undeserved grace voice coming in from the stratosphere, letting so that everything's fine. And that's what undeserved grace is like. It's this voice coming in from on high, and says everything's fine. Scott, you are fulfilling an essential role in tonight's show.
Glad to be of service.
Glad to be of service. And you can tell that we practice this because this is how smooth it is, folks. All right, let's get back on track. Let's get back on track here. So, as I mentioned, grace is oftentimes conflated in people's mind with sort of a religious connotation. This amazing grace is. This is a wonderful old gospel song, but truly, what we're talking about is the inability of any of us, and really. From the point of view of our relationship to spirit, whatever you want to call it. And let's leave religion sort of on the side here because it always kind of confuses people and gets in the way of things. But our relationship to any form of spirit, any form of higher existence, can always be said to be more beneficial to us than it is than it can in any way be to this greater, higher, superior energy. In other words, we could just say this: why should it care or bother with us? We are. There is nothing that we can do for, if you believe in a creator and a supreme being, as something that made all things that are here, all things that are around us, that it has existed from the beginning of time, will exist to the end of time. If you believe in that sort of an energy, or great spirit, or whatever it is, there's really nothing that we can do that will be in any way be beneficial. Well, God needs our worship. Well, God really doesn't need our worship.
It's true.
and you can't say, well, if I put my my 2-penny coin into the God slot, I can get back out a cracker or a cookie, uh, because you just can't. There's nothing you have within yourself or that you can do, and speaking in broad, what any of us can do to earn that cookie, to earn that favor from a being which doesn't need it, doesn't need you. So why? The question of grace is really a question of why. Why do we receive any sort of benefit? Why is this type of entity in any way related to or interested to in relating with us? And it's sort of it can be thought of as a sort of a mystery. And some of the nihilists and some of the folks who are atheists will say, well, that's the proof that there is no such thing. That why would it be interested in us? And there are lots of great arguments on the contrary, and we could go into some of them if we really want to. But I think the key question we want to talk about tonight is the mechanism of receiving grace, the benefits of this relationship, has nothing to do with whether we deserve it or not.
Right. Right. It's kind of something that we're born with down here, because everybody wants to know whether or not a situation is fair. I mean, you get that from children immediately. It's like, well, that wasn't fair. And
from everybody, yeah.
But so your mindset is going into, well, it should be deserved in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
And you don't have to teach that to little ones. That's something that just goes, bing, that wasn't fair.
Right. That's a great point, is that we are all sort of born with this sort of innate quid pro quo, this kind of, I do this and I get that. I do something good and I get something good. I do something bad, I get something bad. And it's sort of, that's sort of the basic idea of karma.
Well, it's the basic observation of cause and effect. This is something that we as humans, whatever age and whatever form, we understand. It's like fair. It should be fair.
Well, and that rises up when you say you did something good and you get something bad. And it's like, well, that's not fair. I did everything right and something bad happened to me. Or, life, as we're well aware, and many people are, and many people will be if they aren't. Life is often not fair. Life does not necessarily reward you with an equitable sort of trade. When something bad happens to you, it's very often we'll say, well, that person never did anything in their life to deserve this particular situation. If it's a bad situation, that's not fair. It's not fair that they would go throughout their whole life and they did nothing but good, and and suddenly they get this terrible thing happen to them. And I think we can understand that, but the other side of it is just as strong in people. And this is where you see somebody who's done nothing but rotten things their whole life. They've been a rotten, lazy cat, for argument's sake, their whole life. And they've done nothing but sleep on the bed and beg for scraps and jump in your lap when you don't need them and all these other things. And yet, there they are just living the life of a cat, which is pretty much paradise at all times. And then if somebody talks to you on the radio, you meow and ruin their segue. But the idea is that suddenly you see these people who you have judged, and we all have this judging part of us, that they don't deserve what they've got. They've got too much success and too much good things have happened to them, and I know that they're bad, and I know they don't deserve that. That's not fair.
Right. This is the little child in us that basically sits there and believes that, what's right on the surface is exactly the elements that you've got to use to make a judgment on something.
And that's the key.
Mm-hmm. And it's only through experience that you begin to realize that there are things that you just cannot see.
Well, but I want to stop right there before we go to that next point.
Okay.
The judgment thing is the key part there, Margaret, because we all do feel that we are empowered to be the judge
Right.
of what is fair and what is not fair. And when it doesn't work out the way we think it should work out, well, then we feel very confident in saying, well, that one doesn't deserve what she got or he got, or that one deserves more. We want to put ourselves in the position of our opinion mattering as to who, what we perceive as the right thing to do.
Right. Because we know the rules and we know what's right and we know what's wrong. So somebody should be listening to us.
Right. And our rules, the rules that say whether somebody should get something or not, are the ones that matter.
No one else's.
No one else.
Which is an interesting concept, because if you turn that around, it's completely unacceptable. So you sit and you go, wait, no, that person's judgment is the one that's being upheld, and they didn't take any input from me.
From me? They didn't listen to me. If somebody had asked me, I could have told them that how fair it should be. But so there's that part of us that not only wants to say whether what's happening to us is fair or not fair, but that what we perceive others getting or not getting, we want to also say that's fair or not fair.
And that's that intrinsic belief that you know what's fair and what's not fair.
Oh, and that you know everything that's going on.
Well, yes, this is my point. You do not, when you're so young, do not realize that you don't have all the facts.
Oh my God, you're kidding. I assure you that I have all the facts.
The arguments I still remember with the kids. It was just, screaming, that's not fair.
That's not fair.
He got this, he didn't get that. Wait, Mom! You appeal to authority.
And we want to do the same with God. We want to say, God, how can you bless the XYZ person? I know how bad they've been. I know they don't deserve it. I am calling you out, God, on you blessing this person.
Right. They want to.
It's not fair.
Right. I need an immediate explanation, and it's just so funny.
I need an immediate explanation, God. I want you down here in my office right now. I want this thing in triplicate. I want to know why you gave XYZ to this person.
Mm-hmm.
And God's like, and that's the nub of it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't care.
He doesn't need to answer to you. That's
horrible. That the realization at some point in your life, when you finally grow up a little bit and you realize that God is not going to answer to you, and it just hits you like a ton of bricks. Like, man, there's nothing I can do to get God to pay attention to me. I don't care. It doesn't matter how wrong I think he is, or she is, or it is. It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, because this being is far outside of our understanding.
Right. And then it all ties back into this idea of fairness, because the first thing we say when we see God blessing somebody is, why not me?
How come?
How come I didn't get the XYZ? I didn't win the lottery. I didn't get the big job.
How come they got it?
How come they got it?
And you know what's interesting? The qualifier says, oh, well, it's okay. They deserve that. Okay, you sit there and you go, okay, wait a minute.
Just to make yourself feel better.
Right. Well, they actually deserve that. And you're sitting here going, okay, so in order to keep the semblance of what? What is it that you're feeling when that happens?
Yes, you've got it.
And it's usually an insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
What? I don't understand why that happened.
is there something that they're doing that I'm not doing?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there something I can do that will earn me, is there we really, really want this, people, we really, really want this. We want to have the quid pro quo with our God. We want to say, God, if give me the list, give me the stuff, give me what I have to do, like A, B, C, give me the list, and I will go through it, and I will do A, B, C, D, and then ding, cookie. And the problem is we make up what the list we think the list should be, and we say, oh, that's got to be it. We've got it. We've figured it out. We do these 17 things in this order, and it's like an incantation. And we think at the end, boom, suddenly something good's going to happen, pop out of a box.
Yeah, no, but that's the whole foundation. That sequencing. It's a very basic assumption that we have, and like even when you're talking like incantations, they have to do it a certain way in a certain style and pronunciate blah 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 blah, and then this happens,
Right.
and you're just sitting there going, okay, so that is how our minds are set up.
Mm-hmm.
That we're sitting there going, well, if I do this and this and this and this, then this has got to happen. And frankly, I think science was developed to see which patterns actually are consistent.
and when you're dealing in the realms of factual and science, but when you stray off into this idea of if I behave this way, I get a good. If I behave this way, I get a bad. And you say, well, that's good. Everything's working out. This is fine. It seems to work out. And then all of a sudden, something comes along and challenges that assumption, and we rebel against it immediately. We said, that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
And we really, really, what we really want to say to God is, how can you do that? We're outraged. How can you bless this undeserving wretch? I know how horrible they are. I know. I've seen everything they do. They do everything bad, everything wrong, and you're blessing them, and it makes me mad. And then the other one, the other side of it is, how can you afflict this poor, innocent, wonderful person with this terrible affliction? And it just drives, if you haven't understood where you are really in the whole thing, drives you up one wall and down another.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does work itself into rules for living and Marie Kondo and all this. We just want to find the formula that once we do this, God will say, "You got it." It took you a long time, several 100,000 years, but you got it. Now, two things are going to happen. I'm going to bless you every time you do that, and you should write it all down, publish a book, and then you'll be a bazillionaire. But that doesn't happen, and that's not fair. It's just not fair, God. It's not fair.
Well, I think it's fascinating to see how passionately humans are searching for that.
Mm.
Isn't it? I mean, when you think about it, what was that book? There were books that are written that in order to succeed, you must do this, 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 and follow this, this.
The 7 rules for success and stuff like that.
And people pay a lot of money.
Oh my God.
To go into those programs because they want this. And you sit there and you go, why is it an outside thing? Do you actually know who you are, or are you so stuck on it's got to be fair that you tie yourself up into a knot and don't even begin to explore who you actually are as a being? Because all you're doing is thinking, this is not fair. I've got to qualify it this way or change this, and then it'll be fair, then it'll work, and you're like, the broadness of your experience doesn't even hit you because you keep pushing away the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the moment of living. Keep pushing it away because you've got this other thing that you got to do.
And rather than rather than live your life as you wish without expectation of controlling a divine entity, which is what you're really trying to do. When you say it's not fair, what you're really trying to say is, God, you're slacking. I think I should be in charge. you know, you, you know, listen here. I mean, this has been a great gig for you. You've done really, really well, but you're starting to fall off the beam a little bit. And I think it's time for a little bit of more mature leadership, and you should put me in charge. And that's what we're really trying to say. And I think that we've often said on the Soul of the Everyman that we really want our opinions, and we really want to matter, and we really want God to listen to us. And we're incensed when he doesn't. We're incensed when the universal power just ignores us. And I think it puts us in our place, and it gives us this sense that, not only is the scary supreme being who doesn't really need anything we give to him, not only is he not there, following what we think is fair, but in fact, he's completely inscrutable. He or she or it, or please excuse the pronouns. I'm just trying to say what we have is an inscrutable, divine thing, something which is far above us, which wants to have a relationship with us, that we need more than it needs us. Mm. And yet this thing, this entity, is able, and there's a wonderful quote, "My ways are not your ways, my mind is so far above yours that, as the heavens are above the earth." It's to give the idea that, we, even though we think it's not fair, it is, because when you say that entity is supreme, it means whatever is done is by definition fair, because that the ability to do anything is also the ability that cannot be controlled. The ability to bless and give grace and favor can't be constrained by
right.
whether I think it's fair. Guess what? It's not fair, and no one cares. Yeah, you know what? God should come down and say, you know what? You're right. It's not fair, and guess what? I'm gonna do it anyway. Bye. It's part of it is to say to yourself, not only does my opinion not matter necessarily, but I have to just accept that undeserved grace is really what all of us get at all times.
Yes.
And that my idea of what someone else should get, I should just sit back and say, you know what? What have you done? Me, little b, the little b me here. I can't say it. What have I done to deserve anything? And if you're honest, really honest with yourself, which is very difficult to do, is say, I really don't deserve. It's not fair that I've gotten anything. I don't deserve any of the grace that I've gotten. So who am I to judge?
Right. No, it's true. If you took an objective point of view and really examined your life, like, you know what? I'm so far below the perfection that is.
Exactly.
That, why should I be any better than the next piece of dirt next to me?
Exactly.
We're all just...
And yet we receive this grace almost without acknowledging it. And we have the hubris, the temerity to think we should be able to tell God whom he should bless and how much. It's really amazing on the surface of it, and you have to be introspective. You have to stop looking around and seeing, well, she doesn't deserve that, and he doesn't deserve that. I just start with I don't deserve that. I don't deserve anything, any blessings. I haven't done anything good. If you're honest with yourself, and you realize that often, every day, like every femtosecond or so, you're doing something wrong against those rules that you have so wonderfully enshrined for everyone else to follow, as you don't follow them very well, and therefore, by your own definition,
Mm-hmm.
you are getting things that are unfair.
Plus, the rules don't apply to me.
But the rules don't apply to me. Wait a minute, you're right. The rules don't apply to me. The rules are for other people.
Other people.
It's like when something goes wrong, it's usually other people's fault. You're right. I take it all back. Yeah, that's exactly correct. The rules don't apply to me.
Isn't it amazing? But that is the mindset of all of us.
Yeah, the rules don't apply to us, or we forgive ourselves. Is this wonderful? Again, the Bible is full of wonderful wisdom, and you have to stop thinking of it as a religious book and think of it as a book of wisdom. The old mote in your brother's eye, remove the beam in yours. That's just a way of saying that we see others' faults and others' undeserved so much more easily than we see our own.
And I think it's interesting that we're born to a family. And being born into a family, and I mean like a normal family with all its craziness and all its idiosyncrasies and all its inequalities and all its uniqueness. When you experience a real family, you realize that this is just the beginning of what a real love relationship is supposed to be. As a child, you always assume that, Daddy and Mommy are going to love me. So whatever I demand is got to be.
Right.
And not realizing, of course, how do I say this? As a child, you're limited, in the things that you can do. So the ability to be patient and to learn what else is there is not something that comes to you. You just want to go and let's do this, and I do it. Let me do that. So you are forever exploring, which is a lovely thing, but not really realizing that you are in a controlled environment. And it doesn't occur to you that you are being protected at this point, and so that you don't kill yourself.
Well, and I think what that microcosm is that we receive many things without even thinking about whether we deserve them or not. Right. In fact, no one even says, you only get this if you deserve it. You just get it. And so as a child, you get used to receiving undeserved grace. You almost think of it as your due.
Mm-hmm. As a small child, yes. Because, you're hungry, you get fed. You need some help with something, and there's always a hand or two somewhere to give you a hand.
Right. And the only time we say it's not fair is when we don't get everything instantly that we want.
Yes.
Then it's not fair.
Well, that's when family really steps in, because suddenly there's things to compare to.
Well, yes, that's another thing. He got it and I didn't.
Right. But that's what I mean. I mean, if you were just a single being on this world, and that was it, you would have nothing to compare to. It would not even occur to you that it was fair or not fair. It's only in comparison with someone or something that you sit there and you go, well, gee, that wasn't fair.
Right, and it's only in comparison to your rule system that you say, well, that's not merited or not deserved.
Right.
We judge everything by one ruler, which is what we think. I think it's not fair, and my rules say that you don't deserve that, and I do. Yeah, that's where we are. And I think what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the studio and have a very deserved studio break. But we're also going to come back, when we come back on the other side of the studio break, and talk about why any of this is ever given to us. We none of us deserve it.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is book 1 of the adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
The Timeless Esoterica radio program with Dr. Bruce is broadcast on the fourth Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on ArtistFirst.com. We explore topics including the paranormal, alien life, mysteries, conspiracies, hidden history, oddities, and much more. Each show will feature a special guest with exciting and thought-provoking discussion. Always keep an open mind, an open heart, live forever, and remember Dr. Bruce believes in you.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
You are listening to The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Let's get right back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Well, that was a very deserving intro. I think that was. It would be very fair if you would get the Intro of the Year award.
I accept.
There you go.
Ah.
Well, and tonight, folks, we're talking about, we're really talking about grace, and we're talking about the fact that, first half hour, we're talking a little bit about how all of us kind of want to control who gets favor, who gets grace, and who doesn't. We want to judge. But I think in this half hour, I think we'll kind of go off in a different direction and say, why do any of us deserve grace? We touched on it a little bit in the first half hour, and really what it comes down to is that all grace is undeserved and unmerited, and that's a scary, scary thing, because now we have to throw away all the rules and all of our opinions, and whether it's fair or not, and realize that good things are going to happen and bad things are going to happen, and we're just going to have to deal with them. And that's a scary thing. So the grace which comes down, the thing that you open yourself up to, because it is there. See, this idea, this nihilist idea, this atheist idea that really is nothing there, that's not true, because when you open yourself up to that entity, to that divine force, that divine, it comes in. It's undeniable. You get the strength you need. You get the words you need. You get what you need when you need it, when you open yourself up and just let it come. You don't even say, God, I was really good today. I made 5 peanut butter sandwiches. I worked out. I drank my Wheaties and all that other good stuff. It means I get that you shouldn't drink your Wheaties. It's very, very, very bad to drink your Wheaties. Moving on. But if you had liquid Wheaties and you drank them, you did all.
Oh man.
And and that means I should get some grace. No, that's not how it works. You open yourself up and say, God, I know I don't deserve this. I know that I've done nothing that is in any way going to force you to give me what I need, but I just want it. I need it. I'm in a situation where I must do something that I don't know how to do. Help me. And so when you receive that grace in that way, you have to make yourself vulnerable. You have to say, I don't deserve it. And yet I need it. So you have to kind of say, well, you know, I don't, there's no reason I should get this, but could you do me a solid? And you get it. And you have to say thank you because you don't deserve it.
Right. And it has really nothing to do with you earning it. It comes. And why does it come? That's the question. Why does that come to you when you realize that you really, as a human being, you're really no different than the other human beings in this world, and there are billions of us.
Right.
So why does that grace come when you ask for it?
Where does it come from?
There's a question, right?
Right. And your first point about is, we can't earn it. And here's the other thing that people get stuck on, Margaret, is you can't earn grace, and it comes. You see, when you earn something, you don't necessarily have to be grateful for it, because you earned it. I pushed the button, the light came on, I got a check. I don't say, well, I'm really grateful for the check. So no, I pushed the button, I did the thing, and the light came on, the thing happened, and you give me the check. I'm done, right? We're all done here. Everyone's good. With grace, there's no button, there's no light, you can't earn it, and yet it comes anyway from somewhere. And so you are in the position of a debtor. You have to be grateful. And people are like, I don't want to be grateful. I want to deserve it. I want to deserve it. I
want to control it.
I.
That's really what it comes down to. It's the insecure feeling that rises when you realize that, you know what, I did nothing, and this comes. And either good or bad.
Right.
I did nothing, and this comes. Oh. That feeling of, you know what, you really are not empowered to run the world.
Or anything.
Just even your world.
Right. And that the idea, Margaret, that you have to be grateful for grace because it is undeserved, and that you have to ask for it. You can't earn it. When you earn something, you don't have to ask for it. You're owed it. You've done the thing. And so therefore somebody now owes you. What you want to do when you're trying to control God is you're saying, I've done the thing. You owe me the grace. You see, it's like a thing that I've done the thing, and now you are indebted to me. Huh, what a wonderful thing that you could indebt God to you. And then you can carry God around all the time and say, hey, don't do that because I got lightning bolts coming your way. But instead you are the poor one. You are the empty one. In fact, when you want grace, when you really want grace, you have to say, I am empty. You have to empty yourself. You have to say, I know I don't deserve it, and I don't have it. Please, could I have some grace?
I need help, Lord.
Right.
Because I cannot fulfill this.
Well, you have to confess ultimate weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it.
This is beyond me. Beyond everything that I can do and everything I can think of. And yes, you have gifted me with many things, but this is beyond me. And I ask most humbly, for courage, for wisdom, for knowledge, for favor, for my next breath.
Right. 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 We don't deserve our next breath.
Mm-hmm.
Well, undeserved breath. There's another one. Woof. No, I mean, but no, it's easy to make light of it, but we don't deserve. We haven't earned. No one owes us, and this is really the key thing here. No one, no God, nothing in this universe owes us our next breath, because we haven't earned our next breath, because we can't earn our next breath. See how scary that is? The other way is much better.
Well, yeah, because then you can be right or wrong and stay in control, but that's not what life actually is. And that scares most people.
Yes, which is why we do it.
Mm-hmm. Because we need our comfort zone. I need to feel like I can do that. And you sit there and you go, well, you haven't expanded your heart to go past a very young child mode where it's all about you and meeting your needs. Your heart has got to mature and expand to include others as well as other situations, not what you're accustomed to in your safe zones.
Well, I would put even a finer point on it. Your heart has to mature and expand to the point where you realize that you don't deserve what you have and never have deserved what you have. So you should be grateful, not judge. You should receive, and then what you receive as this wonderful grace, you should be grateful for, and then give it out again, because it was never yours in the first place.
Ah, well, there's a concept that has to be embraced.
There's a scary thought. It's I got all this abundance and grace because I'm such a great guy. No. But I really deserved it. No. I did all the right things. No. Damn. So I got all this wonderful abundance, whatever it is. It has to be shared. And when you're in trouble, all that grace that comes in, it's not because it's suddenly that you feel better now and everything's okay. No. Yes, it helps, but you've got to use it. You've got what are you becoming always? When you open yourself up, you become a conduit for grace. Grace doesn't. The other thing you can't do, Margaret, which people also is, well, I got the grace now. That's all I need. I'm good. I've got all the grace I need. No, grace doesn't stay. Grace has to flow. You don't just go back your, right?
You just don't catch the grace and run, okay?
Yeah. You don't back your grace truck up and say, fill up the grace truck. I'm out of here. I got all the grace I need. You can't have any. I've got all the grace. It's like, yeah, that'd be great, but it doesn't happen that way. The grace comes in and flows. See, there's a great saying. I'm not sure if it's from the Bible or not, whatever it is, but grace flows like water. Because grace isn't this chunk of thing that you can put in your pocket like a lucky rabbit's foot. I got the grace. You've got to realize that you open yourself to grace, but you open yourself in both in and out. Grace comes in, and grace flows out, and then you guess what you need? More grace. You have to open your coffers, your catch basins for the rain coming in, but then the rain has to flow through, help others, do the job that it needs to do, and then you're going to have to ask for more grace tomorrow. It's that old, the wonderful prayer, give us this day our daily bread, because give us this day, it's not bread we're talking about. Bread is cool, but we're talking about grace. Give us what we need today, because we're going to need it again tomorrow, because every day grace has to come in like a deep breath and go out like a deep like a big exhalation, like, there's another grace, an undeserved breath.
Mm-hmm.
And once you understand, that's where you say, not only can I not say to you or to you or to you, to you, whether you deserve grace or not, you have to say, I have to be open enough to realize that all of us are getting the grace, all of us are letting the grace flow. And it's only in that cycle that we participate in, that we receive truth.
Right. And if you think about it, and you think about the quality of water, that it always flows to the lowest point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's a visceral teaching of how grace should flow.
Mm-hmm.
Always to the lowest point, so that it may help in nourishing the ground, in allowing things to be cleared out.
Yes.
Okay, it's very interesting to me to if you're watching water, and you use that as a symbol for grace, it begins to teach you how grace should be handled.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hang on to water. Have you ever tried to hang on to a handful of water?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Great analogy.
It just right through your fingers, slips right through your fingers.
But
and
at least, go ahead.
And very quickly, that happens. If you see, how do I say this? Water is also incompressible. So under the greatest of pressure, it doesn't change.
Right.
It cannot be compacted any further. It is as it is, and it will continue to flow no matter how much pressure you put on it.
Right. Great.
So if you are imbued with grace, if you're filled with grace, you become incompressible to all stressors.
Right. And also you are able to receive grace regardless of the amount of pressure you're under.
Mm-hmm. It will always
flows.
Yes, it will always flow. And you have to understand it will always flow to the lowest part, which means that the lowest you may be, or the lowest that is in your environment, this is where it must flow to.
Right. And, in the same way that water, you don't say whether somebody deserves water or not. Everyone needs water.
Right.
Water is something which is necessary for life. Almost more in some ways than food. You can go a long time without food, and you only go a very short period of time without water.
True.
And water, the grace, which is represented by water, it is. You never say, well, you haven't done X, Y, or Z. You don't deserve water, because your need for water transcends whether you've been good or bad, or followed the rules or haven't followed the rules, or whether somebody thinks you should have a drink or not. You need water. Everyone does. We need grace in the same way. When you see undeserved favor, you see grace flowing into someone else, you should say, gosh, I need that grace too. Well, there's an ocean, there's an infinite amount of grace. It's not like if somebody else gets a drink of water that you can't have one. You can have one too. In fact, the greater your need for water, or the greater your ability to let it flow, the more it comes in. There's at no point can you get so big you can drain the ocean of grace.
Actually, if you think about it, the earth itself has reservoirs of water that we don't know about. The underground oceans and rivers that we have not yet discovered. And the other point I'd like to bring up, the fact that, 96% of our body is made up of water?
Not that much. Well, some people. Some people are pretty wishy-washy, but it's certainly a large portion of what we are is water. but it really comes down to that really all of what we are, our existence here is sustained by grace. And that the analogy to water is a simple analogy of water to physical life. The analogy of grace for all things that we do here in relationship to the greater, which is universal, we require the infusion of grace, but it's not, like you said, you can't have your water and then you're done. You don't never need any more water. I have a cup. All anyone ever needs is a cup of water. No, that water is going to evaporate. It's going to be consumed. It's going to flow through you, and you're going to need more water. Grace has to be consumed. It has to be flowed through, and you're going to need more grace.
Well, we all know what stagnant water is.
Yes. Yes. I mean, water is a wonderful analogy because it gives you something that you can, in your daily experience, which has great parallels to grace.
But that's my point. If you do not allow water to flow, it stagnates and becomes
unusable.
Absolutely.
So to back ourselves up to grace, grace is by definition, undeserved favor. People don't understand what that means, but it's the best way to put it is you can never deserve grace, none of us, and we should never presume to judge who among us deserves grace, because our judgment in and of itself is good evidence that we don't understand what we're talking about, because that judgment of this one doesn't deserve that or this one doesn't deserve this is a presumption that somehow we do. You know? That
True.
of course, but that doesn't, like you said, the rules don't apply to me. I deserve grace, and
always the idea that I am the exception to the rule.
I am the exception to the rule, and it's just it's hubris. It's human. We're all guilty of that,
and it's humorous when you.
And it's humorous
when you think of the perspective of being who's able to see you completely outside of time. And you sit there in your moment, your little blip, and say, well, I know the way it should be.
Right. And I'm sure it is very humorous to that, timeless entity, and maybe, and folks, we talked about why should something this vast and this timeless have any concern for us? Maybe we're just good humor value. You ever think about that? Maybe God is really amused, and it's very entertaining.
I think that's what is it? That is the Jewish way of looking at why man was created, because God loves a good story.
Well, you never know. Certainly, we can all agree that God doesn't need us. We need that entity. We need that relationship. But we have some value, because undeserved and undeserving as we are, we have evidence because of the relationship, because the fact that our entreaty is responded to. We say we need grace, God, and we get it. That there's some concern for us. There's some love for us.
But that is the reason why we've come up with the analogy that God is a parental figure.
Yes.
And we are the child, and there's got to be a love relationship going on, because that's the only explanation that makes sense.
Well, and it's the closest human analog that we have. This love of parent to child is as close as we get to the love that is a vast, timeless, unconditional love, which is the foundation of grace. Foundation of grace is, again, unconditional love. Wonderful thing about unconditional love is you can't deserve that either. Oh my God. You can't earn unconditional love. Isn't that horrible? There's just no way for us to deserve unconditional love. My brain's gonna explode. All that stuff. We can't. We're unlovable, and we cannot ever deserve love. We nothing we do can earn grace. Nothing we do can give us the hold upon God that He owes us something. Oh my God, how scary is that?
It's very scary.
Very scary.
Because you're flying out there without anything. If you just take it as what you do and who you are,
right?
And relationship to this being that is so vast that we are, not worth even being noticed.
And yet we're loved.
And yet we are loved.
And we just all we're really saying is that you've got to just be aware of that in a mature sense and be grateful for it.
Just be grateful for life.
Yeah.
Just life is an amazing thing, and not to be caught up with all the...
They don't deserve that. Like all that stuff.
Those crazy little voices in your head that just need to make its opinion known to you that, I know the way that it should win.
Exactly.
And it's like you got to have a red flag go up in your head going, wait a minute. Here it is again. It's like, and I like to imagine the red flag almost like a giant red fly swatter, and you just go,
whack.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a sign of maturity too, Margaret. You catch yourself,
indulging
in the act of telling God what to do. God, that one was, last week you did really good, but this week you're a little, it's a little bit slacking off on the job. Let me tell you what you can be doing. You can be doing this. So the
thing is, though, people do feel that way, and they feel they're doing it for valid reasons. I mean, I know a number of mothers who are just like, I need to talk to God. Why did He invent death? He shouldn't have invented death.
Yeah, and you understand the emotion behind it.
Yes.
Because we're incensed, and we want to understand, in a human sense, something which is unconditional love is not something we can experience here, and we don't know how to do it. Undeserved grace bothers us. It just bothers the heck out of us.
True.
It's like man, and then undeserved punishment, sort of. Punishment being that somebody should get something that a child should be suffering, or that somebody should be suffering undeservedly, bothers us. We're like, God, what are you doing here? And we want to see all ends. We want to be in charge of the universe. We really, really, really think that we know how to do it better. We've got to resist that temptation. That's the temptation.
But that temptation comes from that assumption that I know.
Mm-hmm.
You stop thinking and exploring because you already know how it's supposed to be. Instead of sitting there and understanding, I don't know everything.
And what would Buddha
say?
Right.
What?
What would the Buddha say? In essence, empty yourself.
Right. Empty yourself. Because you do not have all there is to know.
Right.
Making space so that you can learn, I think, is probably one of the toughest internal disciplines that you can do.
Yep.
But it is the most compassionate thing you could probably do in a lifetime.
And on that note, I think you guys have made a wonderful choice in that you've chosen to listen to the soul of the everyman, and hopefully you've learned something,
or at least some food for thought,
or some grace that came in for us. We're going to flow it outward, and hopefully it'll help somebody. Anyway, I'm Michael Lyons,
and I'm Margaret, and thank you for listening.